Hello and welcome to my video on balancing the bow. Balancing the bow is one of the most important things in bow technique because the bow is heavy at the frog and light at the tip. So we constantly have to balance out the bow. So one thing which you should do very often is this. Basically, your fourth finger has the main job of balancing out the bow. If the fourth finger presses down the bow stick, the tip goes up, and when it releases, the tip goes down again. If you're having problems in the lower half of the bow because it sounds scratchy, that's because the bow is too heavy and your fourth finger is not counteracting the bow's weight by pressing down the stick. So that's why this is one of the most important things in bow technique. So practice this often, and in the lower half, remember, the fourth finger has to press down the stick slightly so that the bow is not too heavy. So at the frog, the fourth finger is the most important finger on the bow. It has the most important job to counteract the balance of the bow, to counteract the bow's own weight, also for smooth bow changes. And if you have small détaché notes at the frog, the fourth finger becomes very important. Also for spiccato. At the tip, we have the reverse. The bow is very light here, and we need our first finger to add some weight. If we don't do that, if we don't have the first finger, we don't get a sound. So at the tip, the first finger has to add some weight so that we get a sound and also so that we have control. Basically, at the frog, you can play without the first finger. And at the tip, you can play without the fourth finger. I wouldn't recommend lifting the fourth finger at the tip, although I often do, largely because I have a short fourth finger. But in spite of doing it myself, I would not recommend lifting the fourth finger at the tip because you have to bring it back down again. And if you don't bring it back down, then you have a problem in the lower half because it's so important there. And also, if you don't lift it, your hand position, your bow hand position is more stable. So in spite of the fact that I lift it often myself, I would not recommend it, particularly if you don't have a short fourth finger. There's an exception. You have to have the fourth finger on the bow stick if you're landing the bow at the tip. So if you're landing, you have to have the fourth finger on the stick. Then if I'm landing at the tip, I also have my fourth finger on the stick. I lift it for other reasons. I lift it for sautille, I lift it for other reasons. But in general, keep it on the stick. Now I'd like to give you an exercise which can help you teach your hand to balance out the bow. This exercise does involve lifting the fourth finger at the tip, but we're doing it for the exercise purpose. Basically, you start at the frog, lift your first finger and play some small notes at the frog. Then you play the whole bow and you bring your first finger down somewhere around the middle. Bring the first finger down. You lean your hand towards the first finger and you lift your fourth finger at the tip, and then you play some small notes at the tip. Notice how you have to add weight to your first finger to play at the tip. Then you play the whole bow again and you bring your fourth finger down somewhere around the middle and lean your hand towards the fourth finger a little bit, not too much. and lift your first finger. And then you play some small notes at the frog again. I'll show you again without talking. The next step is to do that without the small notes. So you start at the frog without the first finger, bring the first finger down, lift the fourth finger, bring the fourth finger down, lift the first finger. That exercise is very good because you really learn to balance out the bow, because you need a light bow at the frog, so you lift your first finger, then you bring it down, and you need a heavy bow at the tip because the bow is too light, so you lean your hand forward towards the first finger at the tip. Okay, I hope you find this exercise helpful, and let me know if you have any questions.